Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix, and you're listening to the week ahead video for August 19th, 2018. Before I get started, I want to say happy birthday to my oldest son. He turned 14 today. If you're a parent, you know how quickly time flies, and for those of you that have kids on the way, or maybe you don't have kids, or you have kids that are younger, take in this precious time because it goes fast. It really does. People always tell you that, but man, it is true. It goes by really quickly. Anyway, speaking of going by quickly, this summer's almost gone by pretty quick, and we're in the last 2 weeks of summer, really. And August is a pretty heavily vacationed month, but summer is wrapping up, and that means this low volatility that we're seeing in the markets is probably going to be wrapping up fairly soon as well. So we need to continue to trade carefully, gingerly, light positions, but that doesn't mean there aren't going to be moves and there aren't any setups around. There are plenty. But before I get into all the setups that we're going to see and some of the things that had happened last week, I have to mention, make sure you sign up for ForexAnalytix. It's only $1 for 10 days. All you have to do is click that button right here in the middle. It says sign up today. $1 for 10 days, and once you do that, make sure you download the mobile applications so you have the app on your iOS device or your Samsung or whatever Google device that you have. But make sure you download it so you have all of our analysis right at your fingertips. So again, $1 for 10 days. Check it out. Okay, and this is what you're going to see once you have it downloaded. You're going to have our, this is our overview page, or a lot of people like to call it the traffic light page, and basically this is what you see here, a lot of mixed signals. But it's not this I really wanted to point out, because we really started to see some dollar weakness seep into the market at the end of the week, and you'll see it right here. This is the dollar index, and I want to show you specifically the dollar on a weekly basis. We had a gravestone doji, or shooting star. It is both a shooting star and a gravestone doji at the same time. Really populate at the end of the week, and that's an ugly weekly candle. It really is. I mean, if you look at this breakout that we had of this wedge, we satisfied a minimum target coming out of this wedge. We could have extended a little bit further if you had taken that low that was back here in June, to the range high. Could have taken us all the way to the 618, but the dollar did turn the corner. I think really the reason why the dollar turned the corner is from the US dollar CNH, but I'll talk about that here in 1 second. But I want to show you that the dollar has shown a reversal against a lot of different currencies. It's not just the dollar index. I mean, you look at the euro dollar as well. The euro dollar had a nice rally off of this previous channel. Okay, we basically tested that channel again, and the breakout, or the trend line, and then we've reversed. Now, the problem that the market has, I think, right now is poor positioning, and you can see it in the the CFTC data, the COT data that was released on Friday. The market's getting, and has been, pretty aggressively long dollars, short gold, which from a positioning standpoint, it really sets up the potential for a reversal here. And I think the euro's got its own set of issues, but this is more of a dollar positioning problem, not so much oh, everything's great in Europe, because I really don't think that is the case. I think Italy is going to weigh on Europe heavily going into this fall, personally, but that doesn't mean in the near term we can't see the euro dollar recover to 114 and head all the way back up to 115, or maybe 115, which would be right here, or maybe even 116. That would be really stretching, in my opinion, but it is entirely possible in the markets, especially when we have a week coming up. This is an important week with the Jackson Hole Symposium at the end of the week. My 2 cents is as long as the market I say market, I say stocks is what I should really be referencing. As long as the equity markets continue to ignore the fact that the Fed is raising rates, the Fed's going to raise rates, and they're going to continue to stay along that rhetoric of, hey, things are going fine. We're going to continue to normalize rates, hey, because the market really doesn't care. And I do think that the market, or excuse me, I do think the Fed will care if the market has a negative response. But obviously that hasn't been the case. And you can see in the S&P we continue to stretch higher, and we might actually be pushing into all-time highs as early as this week in the S&P. So as long as the S&P continues its path higher in the path of least resistance, which happens to be higher, the Fed's going to say, hey, I've got a free pass. I can continue to normalize rates, until there is some sort of breaking point, which there may be, but I don't necessarily believe it's going to be this week. Maybe we'll look into into this fall. The markets might start to take notice that rates continue to go higher. Funding becomes a little bit harder in the markets, and the markets might respond to it. But as of right now, the markets don't seem to care. But that means that the Fed could realistically have they could have a hawkish rhetoric going into this weekend. That's why I think that if you go back to the euro dollar, could bounce maybe to 115. Maybe 115, maybe up towards 116, but then it might struggle a little bit as we get into the end of this next week as the Jackson Hole Symposium starts. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, and I'll take you in a couple other currency pairs in a second, but I did mention the renminbi. Here's the yuan, Chinese yuan or renminbi, and this is a currency we do not follow on ForexAnalytix. It's not something that's commonly traded, so we don't follow it from an analysis perspective. But that's where this weekend comes in, and these week ahead videos where we can actually reference this exchange rate. And I do think that the CNH, the US dollar CNH, should be on your screens, one of your screens, at least watching it at some extent, because I do believe that this reversal, you can see there's a nasty reversal candle this week. Very, very big shooting star. So chances are we're going to see a move lower from here. Okay. We continue to hit higher highs, but at this point, we might start putting in some lower lows, and if we put in lower lows and lower highs in the weeks ahead, that could set us up for a nice reversal. Notice this is a lower high as well on a weekly basis. So I think we should keep an eye on the US dollar CNH, even though ForexAnalytix, we don't cover it on a day-to-day basis. It's something that you should be watching. Now, if the US dollar CNH continues to reverse, then we could actually see reversals in other currencies like the Aussie. And let's take a look at the Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar had hit 161% extension of this previous range, and we're already testing the under end of that breakdown point. So the problem with that, as far as the Aussie goes, is the market's pretty short here, Aussie dollars. And look at that big reversal candle. That's a big hammer. I mean, I wouldn't want to be short it. Whether you decide to be long, that's up to you. We have a pattern in play that actually was initiated on Friday, because of the inverted head and shoulder pattern of the Aussie, and you can see it right here. Let's go over to the there's the hourly, and you can see the inverted head and shoulder pattern, and you can see it really pushes higher towards the 73.80 level. So I would expect at least us to retest the that's the underside of this previous triangle that was there. I think that's where we're going in the Aussie. Now, I did also mention that you have there's other forces in play. It's not just the dollar. Take a look at gold, for example. Now, gold has been aggressively shorted, and there were some notes out this weekend that the CFTC speculative positioning has gone negative And don't quote me on this, but I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Not I don't have any notes that I'm referencing at the moment. It's just something I read that first time positioning has gone short in 17 years. Gold, and that would be, the data was reported on Friday, but the data was taken as of Tuesday. So even though it's Friday's data, it's Tuesday's data, but it was given to us on Friday. So that means that the market was extremely short, on this big move down. And look at the reversal. I mean, look at the daily chart in gold. We do have a channel. This is a pretty steep channel. If we get back above 1200 in gold, gold will squeeze. The market's very short gold, and if gold breaks above 1200, well, what's that do to the dollar? Does the dollar continue to fall? Because one of the biggest and tightest relationships in the currency market is the dollar's inverse relationship to precious metals, specifically gold. So, if we see a reversal in gold, maybe we see a reversal in silver. Let's take a look at silver. Silver also got beat down with an ugly stick, but we closed near our highs, a couple day high there on Friday. We break above 15, and silver could really squeeze higher too. After it's been beaten down, since the summer. I mean, we lost like what 15% of its value. I mean, silver could very easily bounce several more percent. And again, this is just going to feed into the at least dollar weakness. Now, if we see some dollar weakness in the beginning of this week, and then as we get into the Jackson Hole Symposium, how about if the Fed, a lot of the Fed speakers, have more of a dovish slant, then that dollar weakness that we're currently seeing could really build going into the end of the week, which is entirely possible as well. Now, one of the other things I want to point out is the cable. The pound has been just absolutely destroyed as of late. I mean, you can see the daily chart. We had this massive double top up here. We extended that double top. Then we just continue to bleed lower. And the one of the reasons why the pound has been hit so hard is because the market is really trying to price in the idea of a hard Brexit. But the one thing, and we talked about this on the FACE webinar with Stelios Contigoulas, actually on Thursday or Friday, or maybe even both days that we discussed it. You'd have to go back and listen. Is that this is all hard negotiating tactics. I mean, this is like, you're really negotiating, saying, okay, we're ready for the worst case scenario. We already expect it, and with the EU negotiations, the risk is that ends up turning out better than had anticipated, because this was all just a negotiating tactic all along. The pound's at risk of really putting in some sort of reversal, and we could really bounce. And I think if the pound gets above 130, it's going to squeeze the heck out of the market. So, when we're talking about the potential of dollar weakness coming in, you've got to keep an eye on the pound. I personally have a long in the cable. I started nibbling on it. I want to say it was like Wednesday of last week, down as we were pushing through 127. And I've established a long counter trend position. I think that a move above 128 could really expose 130 again. And these are the types of counter trend trades you might be able to find, especially if precious metals bounce, the US dollar CNH starts to pull back, things like that. Now, a couple of things that are happening this week that must be noted. First and foremost, on Monday, we have out of Australia the monetary policy meeting minutes, which will be Monday night, Tuesday morning in Australia. Tuesday morning Tuesday afternoon we have New Zealand retail sales, which is also something that we should pay attention to, especially with the Kiwi. The Kiwi is actually showing a bit of a reversal as well. Look at the Kiwi. It's been fairly resilient. Nice weekly candle. This is what you would call a piercing line. A piercing line is a bullish setup. and after the Kiwi getting hit so aggressively the last, basically all of summer, the Kiwi could be due for a bounce as well. Let's see. And on Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting minutes. We also have Canadian retail sales that morning, but the FOMC meeting minutes will be released. Now, this is ahead of Thursday, which is the Jackson Hole Symposium, which we obviously will be looking out for some headlines. There's a lot of European PMIs early Thursday morning as well. And then Friday, we have durable goods and durable goods orders here in the U.S. And then also the Fed Chairman Powell will be speaking. Again, it's a continuation of the Jackson Hole Symposium. So it may be a summer, it might be a summer week, and you think it's a little slow, but there are, I think, the dollar reversal brewing. The strength that we've seen in the dollar might continue to unwind this week. We have Jackson Hole Symposium at the end of the week, so things could really get a little bit more active this week, and volatility will really start to come back after the Labor Day holiday in the U.S., which is the first few days of September. So, guys and gals, I hope you have a great trading week. And if you like this video, make sure you click that thumbs up icon on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, so this way you don't miss all of our great interviews that we normally have. And speaking of which, this week again in on the FACE webinar, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but Dale Pinkert will be out, so I'll be covering with the rest of the team for the FACE webinars the next couple of weeks. So if you don't hear Dale's voice, it's because he's taken a couple of well-deserved weeks off. So you don't want to miss those webinars the next 2 weeks. They are free. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the recordings. And again, like, subscribe, and share this video with all your other trader buddies that you have out there. All right, guys and gals, my name is Blake Morrow. I hope you have a great trading week. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the FACE webinar. Have a great day.